10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, welcome to the Coaching Game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is Dr. Susan R. Meyer. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you.
I am so thrilled to have you. It's so funny, the way things happen. I got on Facebook, someone wrote to me and said, wrote not just to me, to everyone. I have a dear, dear friend who has a fantastic book out, 50 over 50, wise and wild women doing great things, or something like that, right?
Creating wonderful lives.
There you go.
And
Even
you
better.
Can too.
Even better, yes. And you got to go download it right now. And I went, oh, that sounds good. I said, someday I'll be over 50, ha. And yeah, I said, no, I want to see it. And a lot of my colleagues are in there. So I go and I get it. And then I'm looking around on my LinkedIn. So much for social media. Looking around on my LinkedIn, I'm going, who do I have that's kind of an interesting person? I went, oh, Susan Meyer, okay. And I really didn't connect it until I started reading about it. Oh my God, I've already got her book. This is so cool. So then when I said, will you be on the show? She goes, yeah. I said, all right. We are doing it. So let me tell you a little bit about the coaching game. The coaching game is what I think is one of the best tools that I have ever found. And it was designed in Israel, and there are 65 cards with pictures and captions designed to bring right and left brain thinking together. And the results are amazing. You just kind of are going along the path here, and it's like, whoa, and all of a sudden you've expanded. So what I usually do with my guests is say, pick out a few cards that are going to get your message across. And let's have, that'll be the theme of the show. And so Susan did, so we've got them all laid out here. But you might want to notice on the screen that she calls herself a life architect. I'm dying to know what that is and where that title came from. So tell us a little bit about that, Susan.
Okay. Well, it turned out that the work that I do, primarily with women, a few good men, of course. Is to I want to say, come in the way an architect would when you want to remodel your house.
Okay.
But do that with someone's life. So there are some things, when you remodel that maybe you want a little bigger, and some things you want to eliminate, and some things you want to emphasize. And that's really the process that I like to go through with my clients. What do you want to keep in your life? What can we repurpose?
Wow.
What do you want totally different? And I want them to walk away with the life that they always dreamed that they had, but hadn't thought about how to get it.
Oh, that's an admirable goal, definitely. Now, does this have to take place at age 50? How soon can this take place? How late can this take place? When does this process start? How long does it take? All those questions.
Well, most of the women who are in my book actually set along this path when they were in their mid to late 20s. So it's kind of never too soon to get started.
Wow, okay.
In terms of shifts, what we know, if we've read any psychology along the way, is that once we hit about 40, 45, whatever, we hit a sort of a second adulthood. And at that point, it's a really interesting shift, for me anyway, is that instead of going to achieve, as we do earlier in life, we turn more inwards and we look to make meaning out of our lives and to live a life that's more satisfactory, for us. So those are the people that I like working with the best.
Wow. That's interesting what you're saying, because we all have heard of midlife crisis, but there's something called quarter life crisis. Have you heard of that? It's like
I have.
In the 20s now, people are going, what's it all about? What am I doing? Rather than waiting until you get to your 40s or 50s, they've been in the workforce a hot 5-10 years, and it's like, oh my God, this is meaningless. So it's I would think it could start at any time, like you said. The sooner the better, if you want to bring meaning into your life. But it doesn't have to necessarily be when you're midlife. It can be at any point.
Right, or later. I have a few women in the book who are actually in their 80s when they made their last career transition. One of my favorite ones, if I can tell a very short story.
Sure. Oh, you have great stories. The whole book is full of really interesting stories. Yeah.
Well, Jeanette Palladino blames it on me.
Oh, really?
Because she had been in advertising, marketing her whole life, and she didn't want to do that anymore, but she kind of wanted to keep some of those skills. I told her to take a blogging course. And she did, and she started picking up some work doing people's blogs for them or helping them kind of showcase them better, relanguage them.
Yeah.
And she was doing it to have a little extra money so she could play bridge more often. Well, now she's got so many clients that she can't play bridge anymore.
No kidding. Now that's destroyed an illusion I had that blogs are like everybody's personal feelings and they're writing them down from the heart. But there are people who actually polish them up and make them professional.
Yes.
And Janet would be one of them.
Yes,
So good.
Yes, she's definitely one. But the reason why I'm mostly interested in the women who are a little older is because in my executive coaching practice, I've discovered a lot of women who, when they get to be, say, 50, somehow just turn off. The kids are out of the house. The husband is getting close to thinking about coming home, and they don't know what to do about that if he's going to be home all day all of a sudden.
Right.
They haven't taken time to build their own interests, and they now realize they want something for themselves.
Okay.
And they need a little, as a friend of mine says, cathartic shove.
A cathartic shove. Okay. I think that's, I'm not sure. I think that's what brought us all kind of to coaching. And I have a theory that coaching calls whoever it wants. It's like, and you answer the call. But I think it was just like, there's got to be something a little bit more. I know there is. But it's the older you get, theoretically, the scarier it gets. So that you must have quite a challenge in front of you when people are in their 60s and 70s and 80s going, I need a little more. It's like, what can I do? What can I do?
It would be, but another one of my strongly held beliefs is that you don't go out of your comfort zone. Rather, you expand your comfort zone.
Oh, I like that concept. Okay, yeah.
So a partnership with a coach is going to help you build the scaffolding, back to the architect, right?
Yeah, might as well. That's a great title.
Build the scaffolding and build the safe space. So there's kind of a warm, cozy nest for you to step into when you're getting ready to do that scary thing.
So it's not 100% into the dark. There's a little bit of,
Right.
You've illuminated the edges at least. Wow, okay. So it's not, because I see one of the cards that you chose was risk, and it's like, should this is a great card. Should I step over that line or not? I don't know. So you're saying, yes, but minimize the risk if you can by expanding your comfort zone?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you wouldn't think of jumping out of a plane without a parachute.
No.
You might not think of jumping
Exactly.
out of a plane ever.
Right.
But if I decided to do this, because it's on the edge of my bucket list, it would be a tandem jump with an experienced skydiver and 14 parachute checks before we got out of the plane. So why not build that around a risk that you want to take?
That makes sense. What other tips can you give people who are, I don't want to call it a dilemma, who realize that it's time for a change? Is that a good way to put that, or is that?
Yeah. It is, and there's so many of these, but it's somewhere between the idea of
everything is possible.
Everything is possible.
Which we all. That's what we.
If I can do
sure.
it's twin here. Opportunities.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What are the opportunities? So begin with a good analysis. Look at all of the skills that you already have. There are a million ways to use any particular skill that you've developed in life. I was a nursery school teacher for 9 years.
I apologize. Yes.
And many of the things that I used as an OD specialist for many more years, a trainer, a professor, and finally as a coach, are things that I figured out working with preschoolers. All of those skills were transferable one way or another. And I think everybody has a set of skills like that. I'm about to start working with a woman who is a medical doctor, and she's discovered she just doesn't want to do it anymore.
Wow.
So we're going to go through all of the skills that it took for her to get to be a doctor, all of the skills that she uses as a doctor, and think of all of the other ways she can use them.
Amazing. And how would you get started with that? I mean, what would a coach do with that? Would that be a coach would say, okay, use your imagination, or let's brainstorm? I am so sorry.
I feel so bad for people.
I do too, but I'm hoping that my mic won't pick it up.
So the first thing that I always recommend is probably the hardest part. I like to ask people to write an autobiography.
Oh my gosh, really?
Really. Now, it doesn't have to be a formal, this big kind of a book thing, but the more that you can write about your life, the more ideas are going to come to you, and the more things that you're going to have that you're going to be able to use. So, for instance, what did you like to do most, let's say, when you were in kindergarten?
I would say color. I like to color. And I think create things.
Okay, well, I would have to say that coaching is a co-creation process in and of itself. And the fact that these cards are a tool that you use probably has to do with the appeal of colors.
Definitely colorful. Look at the passion card. It's
Right.
like, not the passion. Joyce.
Yeah.
It is so colorful.
Yeah. So these things kind of fold back in one way or another, and you use them again. And I find that people overlook skills, particularly people who don't have a lot of work experience, overlook skills that they've developed in the home. There's Nancy.
Give me an example.
Okay, well, Nancy Bedore, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who was the chairman of the board of Ford Motor Company for quite a while. My favorite quote is, "The person who can decide who gets the last jelly bean, the 3-year-old or the 5-year-old, can handle any labor negotiation."
I love that.
And it's so true. Shoya, who's a friend of yours,
Yes, sure is itchy.
took a whole side trip into the world of art and was a very successful painter for a number
You know what?
of years.
I knew that, but I forgot it. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other women in the book was, what did she do? She was in advertising also for a lot of years and traveled around the world. And she gave me one of my best questions. She said, "We don't ask why not often enough."
Yeah.
And, for women, what if is a bad question. Because what if sends us off into that little catastrophizing sort
it's
of.
like, what if it
what
all
if,
goes
what if,
wrong?
yeah. So-
Whereas, what if it all goes right? We never get there. We
We never
always
get
go
there.
down that dark path.
Men go the other way. Women go. So, what I learned from her, she said people don't ask why not often enough.
I like that.
She asked why not and spent 10, 15 years working overseas. First in Asia and then in Milan for a number of years before she came back. When she came back, she decided she wanted to be an artist. Nobody could figure out in her classes why she was selling and they weren't. She heard about coaching. She transitioned into someone who coached artists into how to sell their work.
Okay. Wow. Great idea. Yeah.
So, these transitions just kind of come. Then she ended up transitioning. People in real estate started asking, well, what do you know that we don't know? And so she went into real estate for a number of years. And now she's completely retired, living in Maine, and is, of all things, a DJ for a radio
a
station.
DJ. Oh my goodness. Okay, so there's something on Facebook that is like the way I thought the path to success will be, and then when it really is, it's
Right.
winding around and it's like going back and forth. And but I love what you said, because there's a great book out there called The Gift of Maybe, and it maybe is scary.
Yes.
Because we don't know what's going to happen, and maybe it's all going to go wrong, but maybe it's all going to go right. So we really just have to sort of say, okay, this might be a great opportunity, and take that leap.
Yeah.
What I tell people, because I sort of am into reinvention, and retirement, if people are thinking now what to do, is like, okay, for the first time, you're the boss of your life.
Yes.
Now, what is it that you would like to see happen? And it's not what if you couldn't fail. It's like, but what are all the skills you're a survivor. I mean, you wouldn't be worried about it if you weren't at this age, at this time. You survive. What are the techniques? What have you used to survive? And how can you use them to get you through this scary time?
Yes.
That you're gonna create the scary time, but how can you use it?
And that's perfect, because this is also what you're drawing out of your autobiography. What did you learn from your parents? Who were your role models? What did you see in them that helped you?
Oh, I love that. Who are your role models? That's a great
Sure.
question. That's a great question.
My grandmother started work. She was actually one of the earlier graduates of Katie Gibbs.
Really?
And she was an executive secretary
Wow.
her whole life. And then once she retired, she just traveled and did all the social things that she hadn't been able to do, and had a good time. So she's one of my role models, because she was such a strong woman.
Yeah.
And so much. My mother was another one. My mother was a writer.
Mm.
And
That's
so
a scary, lonely profession sometimes,
It
as you
is.
might know. Yeah.
it is indeed. So early on, I knew that I had that interest. Childhood, one more, and I'm trying to see if there's a card that kind of covers it.
Learning.
No, it might be learning. It might be passion.
A little bit of learning, a little bit of passion.
One of the women in the book grew up very, very poor. Trailer camp, nothing, clothes out of the charity barrel, poor.
Okay, yeah.
She wanted to have the same things the other kids had in school, like class pictures, things like that. At the age of 8, she created her own business.
Really?
And I'm not talking just one of these, door-to-door, you sell
Lemonade
something.
selling, yeah.
No, she had a business selling seeds and garden supplies. She had other kids working for her.
Oh my gosh.
She had standards. She fired people if they weren't good employees.
Oh my
At
goodness.
8 years old.
That's amazing.
And she built on that to that now. She's very well off indeed, and very happy. I had the privilege to visit her home in Tennessee, and it is just gorgeous, but simple and eco-friendly and all of those good things. But now what she does is she has what she calls a portfolio career. She's a well-paid board member for a number of major corporations.
Okay.
And she gives back by mentoring other women who want to either be on boards or have the same kind of career that she has.
So amazing. It's like it's taking what you already have
Yeah.
and giving it to someone else. That's kind of like, and that's what I feel with coaching. I remember when I went into coaching, I wanted to coach. I didn't want to be a coach.
Yeah.
And my thing was in 3 mods. So the first mod was all about me. And the second mod was like, this stuff is so good. I have to give it away. I have to let other people feel this good. This is crazy. So it's kind of like taking what you have, seeing who else needs it, and then finding a way to give it to them, and
That's
having
so
a great
right.
time. And it just sounds like it's so cyclical and fulfilling.
It is.
And you've got 50 women who tell you that.
49 in me.
Oh, yes, you were in there.
I had a very hard time. Counting is not one of my skills, Laurie. I will tell you
Okay,
that.
all right.
And I couldn't figure out why I had 51 because I kept on forgetting to count myself. And so I was able to drop one interview that didn't seem to fit well with the other ones.
Okay,
And all
then
the
it was
others
like
somehow
50. Now I got it.
you know, somehow blend and have something. The other thing that's been coming up a lot for me in my work now is this one here.
Persistence.
Persistence.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting, and it's interesting that you sort of sighed as you said that, because you probably have learned from your clients what I've learned from mine. There's a downside to persistence.
Yeah.
There are
Well-
people who are persistent and keep on working to get what it is that they want, and there are people who have sort of a false persistence, where what is that cliche? You know, if you
The definition of
insanity,
insanity
right.
is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Exactly.
Yes,
And that
exactly.
kind of persistence is really a killer of
Joy.
joy,
Creativity.
creativity.
Because you keep doing it again and again
And-
instead of figuring out a new way.
All
Yeah.
of these things here, and this is what happens: is that some of the women who I've worked with just keep on trying, and we have to get them to knock down some walls, really, and create a new space for themselves, because doing what you've been doing is going to get you what you've gotten. It's not going to get you something new. So there's persistence, like, and I'm blocking her name, Cheryl. I'm pretty sure it's Cheryl. Cheryl, who decided she wanted to get into sales. She knew nothing about anything. Right? She never worked.
Right.
I love this. She decided, okay, I can't make it. I'm going on public assistance for exactly 6 months.
Okay.
And in exactly 6 months, she said, thank you very much. I don't need you anymore, and went back to her life. Well, she decided she's going to do sales, so she started knocking on doors, and she kept knocking on doors, and she kept knocking on doors, and until somebody finally said yes, because she knew inside of her, I can do this. So I'm going to be persistent. And she kept trying and she kept trying. Well, when she got her first sale, 2 things happened. One is she didn't even know how to write an invoice. So she had to quick teach herself how to do that. But the second thing that happened that was so cute was the guy paid her cash and he put it in a brown paper bag. And she's kind of sneaking out to her car hoping nobody sees this bag.
Kind of strange, but okay.
You know, and then when she got home, she threw it all on the bed and just kind of, like you see in movies, rolled in it. Well, she's got, she remembered that as a kid she liked to build things.
Okay.
So she liked building things. She
Like
knew about
sales.
sales. She now has a multi-million-dollar HVAC installation business.
That is so bizarre.
No.
But why not? Why not?
But that's the good persistence.
That is the good, and I guess I wish there were a card, and there's not, and maybe it's opportunities. I wish there was one for openness, and that would just be being open to all kinds of ideas, being
Yes.
open to changing your mind, being open to
Yes.
trying something new.
That's this
Everything
one.
is possible,
That's
I
everything
guess.
is possible.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it's part of it's that, and it's just like,
and a little more.
yeah, I think once you say, okay, I'm ready for a change, then the changes come because you're aware of them, and it's but until it's like, oh my God, I'm afraid to change, and I need this much for rent, and I need this to happen every day, and then you're narrowing your opportunities for sure.
You are, and it's back to the why not card with a little bit of risk thrown in. I was telling you earlier. I had a very nice, secure, safe civil service job. I was a
Those are the killers of creativity because they're so good
I know,
and so secure.
I know.
Yes.
And I was a training manager for the New York City Transit Authority.
Oh my goodness.
I hated it. I loved the project I was working on. I stayed 2 years longer than I should have, frankly,
okay.
because the project was so incredible. But I hated the organization. I hated the way they operated. I hated how they felt about women, and I don't care if everybody in the world hears this and knows that.
Really? Can't bother me now. Yeah.
When I was 50, I said, I cannot do this 1 minute more. I am 50 years old. I want my life back. I quit
Wow.
with no idea what was going to be next.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
a huge why not,
Yes.
you know? And 20 years later, I'm still here.
I still can't believe she's 70. But anyway, as long as you said it on air, I wasn't going to tell anybody. Yeah, and you know, a lot of people would be figuring out, well, what's my pension going to be like? Well, you know, how many sick days do I have? Will I get that back? And sometimes you just have to take the leap and go, you know what? Can't do it anymore. I did not a similar thing, but I decided a couple of years ago, it's like, you know what? I'm too old to do stuff that I hate.
Yes.
It's like, this is crazy. You know, if I don't do fun things now, when am I going to do them? So it was like, so I try to keep that in mind. Not that everything I do is fun, but most of it is.
Sure.
Most of the time it is. So, and I do like to just let people know what other people are doing. I love connecting and making things happen. And that's why I thought it was so fascinating that you connected 50 women with totally off-the-wall crazy stories. I love it. These are not traditional by-the-book success stories. These are like, yeah, okay, like you said, wise and wild.
You mean you're not going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro next week?
No, I'm not, but they might.
One of them did, and she did it twice.
Oh my
She didn't make it to the summit the first time, and so she learned a lot about poor management on that first trip.
Yeah.
So for the second trip, she put together, this was wild, she put together a team of able and disabled, primarily mental challenges, people, 2 volunteers for every 1 person who had challenges.
Okay, I
And
like that.
she had a team, and of that team, I think 70% of them actually summited.
Wow.
And the whole thing was a project to raise money for her favorite charity. She did a film. She brought not only a cinematographer with her, but a composer with her who did all the music for it.
Oh my
All right?
gosh.
And so she got the whole thing on film, and she wrote a leadership book.
Amazing.
I know.
Just, I mean, and it's, I love that the path, you know, you would say, okay, so I'm going to go climb a mountain. Why not? You know, and that would be your goal, and that would be it. But yet out of that comes so many rich, fantastic things. We've got like 45 seconds left,
Oh my
believe it or not.
goodness.
I know. So what I want to encourage you to do is to go to Dr. Susan R. Meyer's website, which is right at the bottom. It's very easy, susanrmeyer.com, and find out all the cool things that she's got on there, and also take a look at that book. Give us the title, because I mutilated it before. 50 over 50.
I know it's way long, but it's 50 over 50, wise and wild women creating wonderful lives, and you can too.
And I can't think of a better note to end on, because you can too. And here's the lady who can help you if you feel that you need that little push. So Dr. Susan R. Meyer, I have to thank you so much for being on the Coaching Game and sharing your inspiration.
Well, this has been a joy. Thank you for having me, Laurie.
Thank you.